Hello, lovely students, and welcome back to our class. Before we start our class, remember to smile always. The outcomes of today's presentation. After this presentation, you are supposed to be able to 1. Identify new vocabulary, read and understand the story, change verbs to nouns using the suffix ion, use the comparative and superlative adjectives, practice the superlative and comparative adjectives. So in your class book, we are going to work in the pages from 24 to 26, in your workbook 22 till 23, in our grammar book from page 20 till 23. So we are going to start with Unit 3, the best party ever, in your class book, page 24 till 25, workbook 22 till 23. So before we start with Unit 3, I have a question for you. If you remember the story in Unit 2, take a look at the pictures in front of you, then try to remember what happened with the children when they were trying to prepare themselves for the play. Before we start reading the story in Unit 3, take a look at the pictures in your class book, page 24, and try to answer the following questions. What can you see? Who can you see? Can you tell what is happening? Now let's together the story in Unit 3 with the title Best Party Ever. Open your class book and follow up with me. I am going to read for you. The best party ever. Libby, this is terrible. We haven't got costumes. Ed, don't worry. We can make new costumes. Kate, how? Ed, look. There are lots of things in this cupboard, Libby. Take these feather dusters. Kate, this lampshade can be your crown. This sack and these rubber gloves can be my costume. Ed, here. These sheets can be dresses. You can use this washing line to tie them. They are not as pretty as your costumes, but they are all we have got. Kate, okay, let's put our new costumes on and do the play. Libby, the audience loved us. They really enjoyed the play. Kate, Ed's amazing. He saved the play. Finn, I am sorry I was too late with the costumes, but your new ones are brilliant. Libby, yeah, Ed is the best costume designer. Finn, I've got a surprise for you all. Come with me. Libby, wow, it's a party. Look at all this food. Kate, this is the best party ever. Thanks, Finn. Finn, you are welcome. Congratulations on your play. Now, after we read the story, let's try to answer the following questions. How did the children make new costumes? What did they make out of the lampshade and the sheets? Who came up with the idea of making new costumes? What was the surprise that Finn prepared? Now let's do the exercises in our class book. We are going to start with exercise 3, page 24, where we have to read again and answer the questions. Number 1, do the children make new costumes? Yes. Number 2, is Kate's crown made from a lampshade? Yes. Is Ed's costume a sheet? No. Are the new costumes prettier than the old ones? No. Does the audience enjoy the play? Yes. Does Finn have a surprise for the children? Yes. So here is the answers of exercise 3 in your class book page 24. Moving to the words, the most important words in our story, we are going to read the word and its definition. So the first word is sponge. Sponge. It is a soft, light material that is full of holes and holds water easily. You use a sponge for cleaning. So the word is sponge. Sponge. Then we have sack. Sack. A large, strong bag. Broom. Broom. A brush with a long handle that you use to clean the floor. Lampshade. Lampshade. A plastic or paper cover for a light. Rubber gloves. Rubber gloves. Special gloves that you use to keep your hands dry when you are cleaning. Feather duster. Feather duster. A group of feathers tied to to a handle that you use for cleaning. Cloth. Cloth. A piece of material that you use for cleaning. Washing line. A rope you hang wet clothes on for them to get dry. Washing line. Let's do exercise number 2 in your class book page 25, where we have to read and circle. You can use a broom to swipe the floor. 2. We used a big sack or sponge to wash the car. Can you hang the clean clothes on the broom or washing line, please? 4. Mom uses a feather duster or washing line to dust the furniture. 5. Grandma bought a colorful lampshade or rubber gloves for the light in my bedroom. 6. I always wear washing lines, rubber gloves when I do the washing up. So the answers are 2. Sponge, 3. Washing line, 4. Feather duster, 5. Lampshade, 6. Rubber gloves. Let's move to your workbook. We are going to start with exercise number 2, page 22. We have to read the story and circle. Number 1. Ed had the idea to make new costumes. Number 2. They found some things in a stage or a cupboard or a lampshade. 3. The children used sheets to make dresses or shoes or a washing line. 4. Ed's costume was a sack, bucket, sheet. 5. The audience or costumes or the actor loved the play. 6. Finn organized a surprise concert or a show or party. And the answers are 2. Cupboard, 3. Dresses, 4. Sack, 5. Audience, 6. Party. To exercise 3 in your workbook page 22. In exercise 3 we have a poster which is written by the DSD club. Let's read the poster together and then we will do the exercise. Quick and easy costume ideas by the DSD club. Are you doing a play? Costumes don't have to be expensive. You can use things that you have already got. Here are some ideas. Look at this feather duster. It can be a bird costume or even an animal. Is your character a monster? These rubber gloves can be enormous hands or ears. This lampshade can be a basket, it can be a crown, it can be a hat. You can make a dress out of a sack or a sheet. Use a washing line to tie it. Look around and see what you can find. So in this poster, the DSD Club gave us some ideas to make costumes if we are doing a party. And they said that costumes don't have to be expensive. You have to look around and to find things to make costumes out of. Now let's do exercise 3. Read the poster and complete the sentences. Costumes for a play aren't always expensive. A feather duster can be a or an. Rubber gloves can be a monster's or. Lampshade can be a or a. You can make a out of a sheet. A is a good belt. So the answers are 2. A feather duster can be a bird costume or an animal. 3. Rubber gloves can be a monster's enormous hands or ears. 4. A lampshade can be a basket, a crown, or a hat. 5. You can make a dress out of a sheet. 6. A washing line is a good belt. Now to your workbook, page 23, exercise number 1. Look at the pictures and write the words. We have the words lampshade, broom, rubber gloves, cloth, sponge, sack, washing line, feather duster. Number 1, it's a feather duster. 2, washing line. 3, lampshade. 4, cloth. 5, sponge. 6, rubber gloves. 7, broom. 8, sack. Now we are going to discuss a new idea in working with words in your class book page 25 and workbook page 23. So take a look first of all at these verbs. We have act, decorate, and invent. If we want to change these verbs into nouns, take a look at these verbs when we change them into nouns. Act became action, decorate became decoration, invent, invitation. So take a look at the end of each noun. We use the suffix shen, which is ion, to change some verbs into nouns. And pay attention that I'm telling you that we use this suffix to change some verbs, not all verbs, into nouns. So act, by adding ion, it became action. Decorate, by adding ion, it became decoration. Invent, by adding ion, it became invitation, and they are all nouns. We change the verbs into nouns by adding the suffix ion. Now let's move to your class book, exercise 4, page 25. I want you to memorize all the examples that you can see in your book which are related to this rule. I am going to read this blue box. Working with words, we use the suffix shen to change some verbs into nouns. So we have invent, invention, act, action, direct, direction, congratulate, congratulation, decorate, decoration, celebrate, celebration. Now read and circle. Exercise 4, read and circle. We made this banner to congratulate you on winning the race. 2. He got lost because he walked in the wrong direction. Let's decorate the room with these balloons and streamers. The scientist was very pleased with his new invention. So pay attention. After adjectives, we use nouns. After to, we use verbs. Moving to your workbook, exercise 2 and 3, page 23. In exercise 2, change the verbs into nouns. Use ION. To discuss is to talk about something. The noun is discussion. To protect is to keep something safe from danger. The noun is protection. To collect is to put and keep a lot of things together. The noun is collection. To pollute is to make a place dirty and dangerous. The noun is pollution. Exercise 3. Read and circle. In my class, we did a project about animals in danger. We had a big discussion about how we can protect animals like tigers and gorillas. We need to act now to keep them safe. They need protection from danger and pollution. Our class can't go to the jungle, so we decided to have an information day to teach people and to collect money for animals in danger. We made lots of decorations and invited lots of people. It was great. At the end, we had a big celebration. Now we are going to move to Unit 3 in your grammar book, page 20, where we are going to discuss the comparative and superlative adjectives. First of all, we are going to start with the comparative. When do we use the comparative? We use the comparative if we want to compare between two things or people. When we compare using a short adjective, we add ER at the end of the adjective. So take a look at these examples which are related to the photos. He is taller than me. My car is cheaper than your car. Pay attention to the adjectives. We have short adjectives. Short adjectives, 1 or 2 syllable. When you pronounce the adjective, you will pronounce it as a 1 syllable or 2 syllables. So pay attention to my pronunciation to tall, tall, 1 syllable. Cheap, cheap, 1 syllable. So if we have a short adjective, you are going to add ER to the adjective followed by than. So he is taller than me. My car is cheaper than your car. So this is how to compare between two things or two people using a short adjective. All you have to do is to add ER to the adjective followed by than. Now we are going to discuss some spelling rules. Some adjectives change when we add ER to it. So let's take a look at these 2 points. If an adjective ends in a vowel, we all know what are the vowels, which are A, E, I, O, U, plus a consonant. What you have to do is to double the consonant, then you can add the ER. So take a look at these examples. Big, bigger, we duplicated the G. Hot, hotter, we duplicated the T. Thin, thinner, we duplicated the N, and fat, fatter, we duplicated the T. Pay attention that all these adjectives ends with a vowel and a consonant, a vowel and a consonant. Moving to the second point, if an adjective ends with consonant plus Y, we change the Y into I and we add ER. Take a look at the example so you can understand perfectly. Happy, it ends with a consonant plus Y. It became happier and it ends with I-E-R. So all you have to do is to change the Y into I and to add ER. Same for funny. Funny ends with a consonant plus Y. It became funnier with I-E-R. Easy, it ends with S plus Y. It became easier. Ugly, it ends with L plus Y. It came uglier. So the spelling rules that we have for today, if we have an adjective that ends with a vowel and a consonant, you have to duplicate the consonant, then you can add the ER. If we have an adjective that ends with a consonant plus Y, you have to change the Y into I, then you can add the ER. Now moving to comparative with long adjectives. Long adjectives are adjectives that have three or more syllables like beautiful, 3 syllables, interesting, 3 syllables, expensive, 3 syllables. So any adjective that when you pronounce it has 3 or more adjective, consider it as a long adjective. So when we are comparing between two things or two people using a long adjective, you have to use more than the adjective than. So let's take a look at these examples. Maria is more beautiful than Jennifer. Because beautiful is a long adjective, we added more before it and than after it. Same for the second example. This book is more interesting than that book. Interesting is a long adjective. Let's count the syllables for interesting. Interesting. So we have 3 syllables. That's why we added more adjective than. So when we compare between two things using a long adjective, you have to add more followed by the adjective followed by than. Now we have some irregular adjectives that we change completely. The whole adjective change. You have to memorize these adjectives. There is no rule, but you have to memorize them. So good become better, bad become worse, far become farther, little become less, more become much. Take a look at these examples. Ahmed is better than Sally. My car is worse than Ahmed's car. So you have to memorize these adjectives. Now moving to part 2 of our grammar for today, we are going to start with the superlative adjectives. When do we use the superlative adjectives? If you want to compare 3 or more things or people, you use the superlative N. So, in the comparative adjectives, we were comparing between 2 things. But in the superlative adjectives, we are going to compare between 3 or more things or people. So how do we compare between 3 or more people using the superlative adjectives? Let's pay attention to these examples. The red car is the fastest in the group. So we have 3 cars and we are comparing between them. So we said the red car is the fastest in the group. Also, in the second example, we are comparing the dinosaur to the whole animals. So the dinosaur is the tallest animal. What did we do to the adjective? Excellent. We added est to the adjective. So we have the, then the adjective added to it est. That's why we said the fastest, the tallest, the fastest, the tallest. This is for the short adjectives which have one or two syllables, like fast, it has one adjective, tall with one syllable, fast with one syllable, tall with one syllable. So it is a short adjective, that's why we added est. So this is how we make a sentence with superlative adjectives when we are comparing three or more things using a short adjective. Now, moving to long adjectives, how do we use the superlative with long adjectives? Take a look at the example. He is the most intelligent student in the class. Let's count the syllables in intelligent. Intelligent. So we have 4 syllables, so it is a long adjective. Moving to the second example, she is the most beautiful girl in the world. Beautiful is a long adjective. Beautiful. It has 3 syllables, so it's a long adjective. So what did we do when we were comparing 3 or more things or people using a long adjective? Excellent. We added the most followed by the adjective. We said the most intelligent, the most beautiful. So this is how we compare between 3 or more adjectives, 3 or more things using a long adjective. Now, the same irregular adjectives we have in the superlative: good, best, bad, worst, far, further, little, least. These adjectives you have to memorize. These irregular words you have to memorize. Now, a quick revision for what we were talking about. I am talking about, first of all, we were talking about the comparative and superlative adjectives. We are going to start with the short adjectives. Take a look at these examples. We have the adjective short, high, cold. These adjectives have one syllable. Then we have simple, clever. These two adjectives have two syllables, okay? So in the comparative we are going to add er to the adjective. So short, shorter, high, higher, cold, colder, simple, simpler, clever, cleverer. Pay attention that we use the comparative adjectives when we are comparing between two things or two people. Now let's move to the superlative, where we are comparing 3 or more things or people. Short adjectives: the shortest, the highest, the coldest, the simplest, the cleverest. So in the comparative adjectives, when we are comparing between two things, you are going to add er to the adjective. In the superlative, when we are comparing 3 or more things, you are going to add the est to the adjective. Now moving to long adjectives. For example, we have interesting, beautiful, intelligent, expensive, dangerous. So these adjectives have 3 or more syllables. So when we have an adjective that has 3 or more syllables, we are going to consider it as a long adjective. Let's start with the comparative. When we are making a comparative using a long adjective, we are comparing between two things. You are going to add more plus the adjective. So more interesting than, more beautiful than, more intelligent than. if we are comparing between three or more things using a long adjective, you are going to say most interesting, the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most expensive. Another idea which is very simple and clear, the structure of as, adjective, as. When do we use this structure? Take a look at these pictures. I have two girls, Kennedy and Pamela, and I'm going to use the adjective beautiful. I want to say that both of these girls are beautiful. So I'm going to say Kendi is as beautiful as Pamela. Kendi is as beautiful as Pamela. Now, when do we use as adjective as? If two people or things are equal, we use as adjective as. If they are not equal, you will say not as adjective as. So take a look at this picture. I have Grandon and Tom. Both are fat. They are equal. So I'm going to say Tom is as fat as Grandon. So we use as, the adjective as, when we want to say that two people or two things are equal in the adjective. They are the same. Now, key answer for the exercises in your grammar book from page 20 till 23. Exercise number 1 is a homework. Exercise number 1 in your grammar book, page 21, is a homework. You should do it on Monday. Moving to exercise number 2, page 21, look at the table and read the sentences true or false. Write T or F. Number 1, the sparkles are cheaper than the streamers. F, false. 2, the balloons are more beautiful than the fairy lights. False. 3, the streamers are the least beautiful. True. The fairy lights are as cheap as the balloons. False. The sparkles aren't as safe as the balloons. True. The fairy lights are the most beautiful. True. The streamers are the least expensive. False. The fairy lights are as safe as the streamers. True. The balloons are as safe as the streamers. False. The balloons are the most expensive. False. Moving to exercise 3 in your grammar book, page 21, complete the sentences, use comparative or superlative adjectives. Number 1, the sparkles are cheaper than the fairy lights. The fairy lights are the most expensive. The streamers are as safe as the fairy lights. The fairy lights are the most beautiful. The balloons are the least expensive. The sparkles aren't as safe as the balloons. The balloons are the cheapest. So we used the table in exercise number 2 to complete these sentences. Now moving to exercise 4 on page 22, where we have to rewrite the sentences with the opposite meaning. Use the adjectives in the box. We have old, short, happy, boring, calm, big, interesting, expensive. So, number 1, Mr. Johnson is the youngest teacher in the school. We want to change it into the opposite meaning. Mr. Johnson is the oldest teacher in the school. Our classroom is the smallest in the school. It will be our classroom is the biggest in the school. Mr. Rogers is the saddest of my teacher. It's going to be Mrs. Rogers is the happiest of my teachers. Yasmin is the tallest person in the class. Yasmin is the shortest person in the class. 5. English is the most boring lesson. English is the most interesting lesson. 6. My art teacher is the most stressed person I know. My art teacher is the calmest person I know. 7. Volleyball is the most exciting sport at school. Volleyball is the most boring sport at school. 8. A sports car is cheaper than a normal car. A sport car is more expensive than a normal car. Now to your grammar book, page 22, exercise 5. Write sentences, use comparative and superlative adjectives. So Theo, old boy in the class. So we are comparing Theo to the whole class. So we are going to use superlative. Theo's the oldest boy in the class, and so on for the rest of the sentences. Birds are more beautiful than elephant. This is 2. My sister is the tallest girl in her class. 3. 4. Geography lessons are longer than French lessons. 5. My school is the biggest in the town. 6. February is shorter than September. 7. February is the shortest month of the year. 8. My dad drives faster than my mom. Now in your grammar book, page 23, exercise 6 and 7 are a homework. Exercise 6 and 7 in your grammar book, page 23, are a homework. So this is a message for you at the end of this presentation. Dear students, working hard is important, but there is something that matters even more: believing in yourself.